The Plaza Signal dollar crash script. Ladies and gentlemen, Asian guy here, I need you to stop what you're doing. I need you to put down your phones and listen to me very carefully, because something just happened that changes everything we thought we knew about the dollar. 40 minutes ago, a signal flashed across the foreign exchange markets that hasn't been seen since 1985. The Plaza Signal. Most of you have never heard of it. Most of you don't know what it means. But the people who run the global financial system, they've been waiting for this moment for decades, and now it's here. The dollar just received its death sentence. Not from inflation, not from debt. From the very mechanism that was designed to save it. The coordinated intervention system that kept America on top for 40 years just turned against its master. Let me show you the numbers that are making central bankers sweat. In the last 72 hours, the yen strengthened by 8% against the dollar. The euro jumped 6%. The Swiss franc spiked 4%. These aren't market moves. These are intervention moves. Coordinated, simultaneous, surgical. This is the Plaza Accord in reverse. In 1985, the G7 nations met at the Plaza Hotel in New York and agreed to deliberately weaken the dollar to save American manufacturing. They succeeded. The dollar fell 50% over 2 years. American exports soared. The trade deficit shrank. But that was then. This is now. And now those same nations are meeting in secret to do the opposite. They're coordinating to crush the dollar. You have to understand what the Plaza Accord actually was. It wasn't a trade agreement. It wasn't a treaty. It was a conspiracy. A coordinated assault on currency values orchestrated by the most powerful finance ministers on earth. James Baker, the American Treasury Secretary, sat across from his counterparts and literally divided up global currency markets like a chessboard. Each nation took responsibility for specific intervention windows, specific price targets, specific volumes. When they decide to move against a currency, that currency moves. No exceptions, no appeals. The market becomes their weapon. The original Plaza Accord worked because America was still the workshop of the world. American factories still made things the world needed. Weakening the dollar made American goods cheaper and more competitive. But today, America doesn't make things anymore. America makes debt. America makes dollars. America makes promises. And promises don't become cheaper when your currency falls. They become worthless. Here's what happened in those back rooms. Here's what the leaked cables are telling us. 3 weeks ago, the finance ministers of Japan, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom met in Zurich. Not Geneva, not Paris. Zurich. Anonymous. Quiet. Hidden from the financial press. They didn't use official government jets. They flew commercial. They didn't stay at five-star hotels. They met in a private banking facility owned by Credit Suisse, in a room that doesn't officially exist on any floor plan. The topic wasn't trade. It wasn't climate change. It was the dollar problem. The dollar problem is simple. America prints, the world pays. For 50 years, this system worked because America provided security. America provided stability. America provided the reserve currency that everyone trusted. But trust is a finite resource, and America just ran out. The trigger was the debt ceiling. Not the political theater you saw on television. The real debt ceiling. The mathematical limit where American debt payments exceed American tax revenue. We crossed that line 6 months ago. The Treasury is now funding the government by printing money directly. No bonds, no auctions, just digits on a screen created out of nothing to pay for everything. The foreign ministers saw the numbers. They saw the trajectory. They realized that holding dollars was like holding ice cubes in a furnace. So they made the decision. They activated the Plaza mechanism. But this time, they're not saving the dollar. They're executing it. The mechanics are elegant in their brutality. Each participating nation quietly sells dollars and buys their own currency. Not enough to trigger headlines, just enough to create a trend. A whisper becomes a rumor becomes a signal, and the signal becomes an avalanche. The Bank of Japan started it. For months, they've been pretending to support the yen by buying Japanese government bonds. But the leaked intervention data shows something different. They've been selling dollars, massive amounts, not to buy yen directly, but to buy everything else. Gold, Swiss francs, even Chinese yuan, anything except dollars. The European Central Bank followed. Their public statements talk about supporting European growth and fighting inflation. But their actual trades tell a different story. They're systematically unwinding their dollar reserves, not selling them outright, which would cause a panic, swapping them, trading them, converting them into assets that can't be printed by the Federal Reserve. The Bank of England was the third domino. Brexit isolated them from Europe, but it also freed them from European dollar commitments. They're quietly rebalancing their reserves toward a basket of currencies that doesn't include the dollar as the primary component. Sterling is becoming the new safe haven for European capital fleeing dollar exposure. This isn't happening by accident. This isn't market forces. This is coordinated financial warfare, and the target is American monetary hegemony. The signal that confirms this isn't coming from the currency markets. It's coming from the gold market. Central bank gold purchases hit a record high last month. Not just any central banks. The central banks of Plaza Accord nations, they're not buying gold as an investment. They're buying gold as an alternative to dollars. They're building the infrastructure for a post-dollar world. But here's the terrifying part. The part that should keep every American awake at night. This isn't reversible. The original Plaza Accord could be unwound when American competitiveness returned. But this Plaza reversal can't be stopped because there's nothing to return to. American manufacturing is gone. American energy independence is a myth. American fiscal discipline is a memory. The dollar's strength for the last decade wasn't based on American economic power. It was based on the absence of alternatives. The euro was unstable. The yen was manipulated. The yuan was controlled. So global capital fled to dollars by default. But now the alternatives are being systematically strengthened while the dollar is being systematically weakened. The Chinese are watching this with quiet satisfaction. They're not part of the Plaza reversal because they don't need to be. They've been preparing for this moment for 20 years. Their Belt and Road Initiative wasn't about infrastructure. It was about creating a yuan-denominated trading system that bypasses the dollar entirely. The digital yuan isn't about domestic payments. It's about international settlements that don't touch American banks. Every central bank digital currency pilot program they're running in Southeast Asia is a rehearsal for the post-dollar world. They're teaching entire economies how to trade without touching the SWIFT system. When the Plaza Signal completes its mission, when the dollar falls 50%, China doesn't need to attack the American financial system. The American financial system will attack itself. Import prices will double, inflation will explode, the Federal Reserve will face an impossible choice: print money to fund the government and destroy the currency, or stop printing and watch the government default. Either choice ends American financial dominance. The timeline is accelerating faster than anyone expected. The original Plaza Accord took 2 years to achieve a 50% dollar decline. But that was in an analog world. Today's financial markets move at digital speed. What took 2 years in 1985 could happen in 2 months in 2025. The technical indicators are screaming warnings that the mainstream financial media is ignoring. The dollar index just broke below a support level that held for 15 years. Not a minor breach, a violent breakdown. The kind of technical failure that triggers algorithmic selling across every major currency pair. High-frequency trading systems are programmed to recognize these patterns. When a 15-year support breaks with volume, the algorithms don't hesitate. They don't wait for human confirmation. They sell first and ask questions later. The carry trade is unwinding. For years, investors borrowed cheap dollars to buy higher-yielding assets in other countries. But when the dollar weakens, those trades become toxic. Investors have to buy dollars to pay back their loans, but they're buying into a falling market. It's a liquidation spiral. The more the dollar falls, the more pressure there is to buy it back. But the buying pressure is overwhelmed by the coordinated selling pressure from central banks. The oil markets are sending the same signal. Saudi Arabia just priced a major oil contract in yuan instead of dollars, not because they love China, because they can see where this is heading. When the dollar loses 50% of its value, oil priced in dollars becomes too cheap for producers and too expensive for American consumers. The petrodollar system, the foundation of American monetary power, cracks and then crumbles. This is where the politics become deadly. American voters don't understand currency markets. They don't understand reserve currencies. They don't understand monetary policy. But they understand when their grocery bills double. They understand when their gasoline costs twice as much. They understand when their savings lose half their purchasing power. The Plaza Signal isn't just predicting an economic crisis. It's predicting a political crisis, a social crisis, a constitutional crisis. When the dollar falls 50%, American living standards fall with it. The middle class discovers that their wealth was always denominated in a currency that foreigners controlled, and those foreigners just decided to take that wealth away. The Federal Reserve is trapped. They can't raise interest rates to defend the dollar because higher rates would crash the bond market and bankrupt the government. They can't lower interest rates to stimulate the economy because lower rates would accelerate the dollar's decline. They can't print money because printing money is what caused this crisis. They can't stop printing money because stopping would cause an immediate government shutdown. Jerome Powell knows this. He's been meeting privately with Treasury Secretary Yellen every morning for the past 2 weeks. Not in their offices, in secure facilities, because they know their conversations can't be allowed to leak. Every tool in their toolkit makes the problem worse. The banking system is next. American banks hold trillions of dollars in long-term bonds that were issued when interest rates were near zero. As the dollar weakens and inflation rises, interest rates spike. Bond prices collapse. Bank capital evaporates. We're talking about unrealized losses exceeding $800 billion across the top 20 American banks. The FDIC doesn't have enough money to guarantee deposits when the banking system implodes. And the Treasury can't print money to recapitalize the banks because printing money is what's killing the dollar. The international implications are staggering. American military power depends on the dollar's reserve status. When foreign countries hold dollars, they're essentially funding the American military. But when they dump dollars, that funding disappears. The Pentagon's budget is denominated in dollars, but their global commitments are priced in local currencies. A 50% dollar decline means American military capabilities are effectively cut in half. This is the end of the American century, not because of Chinese military power, not because of Russian energy leverage, because of financial mathematics. The Plaza Signal is the starting gun for a controlled demolition of American monetary supremacy. The most terrifying aspect isn't the speed of the collapse, it's the coordination. This isn't market panic. This isn't investor sentiment. This is policy. This is strategy. This is the rest of the world collectively deciding that American financial leadership is over. And they're not wrong. The debt trajectory is unsustainable. The political system is paralyzed. The social contract is breaking down. The institutional credibility is gone. The Plaza Accord nations aren't attacking American strength. They're acknowledging American weakness. They're positioning themselves for the post-American world that's coming, whether America likes it or not. The signal has been sent. The response has begun. The timeline is set. A 50% dollar decline isn't a prediction anymore. It's a policy objective being executed by America's closest allies. The only question remaining is whether American leadership understands what's happening to them. Based on their public statements and policy responses, they don't. The Plaza Signal just warned of a 50% dollar crash. But the real warning isn't about currency markets. It's about power, political power, economic power, military power, the power that comes from controlling the world's reserve currency. That power is being systematically dismantled by the very nations that helped create it. The process has begun. The timeline is accelerating. The outcome is inevitable. The dollar that dominated the world for 80 years is about to discover what every previous reserve currency learned. Nothing lasts forever, especially when your friends decide it's time for you to go.